two, one.
Beautiful people, welcome to a wonderful new edition of Stir the Pot. I'm your host, Greno. I got my favorite smoking buddy in the house, Mr. Aaron Pierce, and two wonderful, very interesting, intriguing guests tonight, Myles Da Master and Sparky Mark. Hello, gentlemen. How are you tonight?
Doing well, man. Can't complain. How about you, bro?
Doing good. Awesome. Appreciate you guys coming on the show. Marcus, is Mark unmuted? Okay, awesome. Okay, great. Guys, great to have you on the show. It's Saturday night, so just want to say I hope everyone's having a great weekend. And being safe, being positive, keeping the good vibes up. We're here to talk cannabis with you for the next hour. That's what we do on Stir the Pot, brought to you by Stables Media. And tonight, we're also brought to you by Anonymous Collective, What's Up Records as well. So I just wanted to say thank you guys for all the support. We appreciate you. And What's Left Records is what I meant to say, not What's Up. But what's up to everyone out there? So guys, let's jump right into it. First of all, let's start with Mark. Mark, first time you ever used cannabis, my friend.
Oh man, I would say the first time I ever used cannabis, I was probably like 13. We just happened to have, like, my cousin had a joint, and we just kind of sat and smoked on some of it. I don't know if I really got high. You know, back then you would, you know, that you're at that young point where you like hit it and immediately you're like, oh, I think I might feel something. You know, same as the beer. You're like, oh, I think I'm drunk. So I don't know if you'd say it was my first like real experience, but that was probably the first time like I ever really, you know, did something like that.
Cool. And what about you, Myles?
Man, I was not much older, to be completely honest with you. First time I smoked I was 14 years old. It was Christmas break, actually. It was my best friend's birthday. I specifically remember it because that's why we were smoking. So yeah, I don't know about Mark. I definitely got high my first time because we ended up walking to the Diamond Shamrock and crushing an entire bag of Doritos outside by the sign. We went right back inside and got some more because it was the best Doritos we had ever tasted in our lives. And so, I had already been doing music for a while at that point, and I just fell in love with it because that night we just went home and crushed it on music too. So I don't know, it's always been kind of like a beneficial herb to me. I've never really seen the downsides of it.
Do you guys remember what strains you were using?
Yes. Yeah, I was smoking on it was blueberry kush was the first joint that we had, and then we had some banana crossed with strawberry. I remember it because I smelled all of them, and I was like, not one of these smells like bananas, strawberries, or blueberries. It just smells like motherfucking skunk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
What about you, Sparky?
I have no idea. We were, when I was 13, it was, 1992?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, not at all. We didn't.
There's a difference, bro.
When we would get bud back home, you would get like this tiny little bag. And you didn't know like anything. It was just like nicks, dimes, you know, the dub. And
Yeah.
most of the, you were just like, okay, you got two bags. One smells like something. The other one smells kind of the same. They don't have as many seeds, or it has like less stems. We'll take the one with the less stems, you know. Or you do that, like, let me get 3 for 12. Like, so,
Yep.
yeah, people were just bagging stuff and selling it. Like,
People were,
I didn't know what was what. I didn't even know indica or sativa until I was like a grown man.
no one did though.
Right.
That's the thing. No one, I mean, the
Wow.
growers did, by the way it grew and stuff, but strains weren't really a thing. I mean, it's funny to think about, young people that don't even know what that was like before you knew what a strain was or what it did to you. You
Yeah.
simply had to meet your hookup somewhere and hope for the best, that it was good and that it was a good price. And that was a good 20 years of my cannabis use, was hoping for the best.
Man.
Oh,
I remember
We had a taste of we have a taste of the general situation, but at the same time, everybody, it was so saturated with medical shit by that point. Like first time I smoked was in 2010, man. By that point, the game was already saturated with medical shit. So all the dealers and everything, they knew the specs on their shit. They were like, yo, if you were somebody who didn't, we weren't buying from you. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna buy your unknown fucking shit. They got Skywalker OG over here, you know? I'm not
Yeah, so it created like a level of sophistication even on the black market because of the things that were going on in the medical. That makes sense. I mean, there's always going to be a black market. Let's be real. No matter even if you federally legalize, like Mark, you were talking about before the show, the MORE Act, which is trying to federally legalize marijuana. I mean, you're still going to have black market folks always. I think.
Absolutely.
There's people that like to grow that way.
Well, you can never fully control a plant that anybody can grow, but like the government can never control that all the way, man. Like there's no way. As long as there's a seed, that plant has the potential of growth, whether you regulate it or not. And that's why I think it's so silly to try and regulate nature in general. Like, yeah, we should be educating people on the properties of the plant and everything like that. But once we legalize it, just legalize it. Stop making all these crazy laws around it. Just make certain stipulations on where and how certain people can use it in public. But then ultimately, it's a weed, bro. You couldn't stop it from growing when you had this crazy Schedule I prohibition for the past 100 or so years. And it's like, man, how are you going to stop it once it's pretty much legal everywhere from growing anywhere?
Well, that's where, though, like when we've talked before, it's important if, even educating people on the plant and the properties is important, but also educating people on the importance of like making sure you're allowed to grow, making sure that you keep those rights, like growers' rights, certain limit rights on your property, things like that. Like don't sell out your ability to have medical or recreational weed for the fact that you can't grow your own weed. You always have to buy it at the store, or you only can get tinctures, or you can only do these certain things. What people need to realize is like, you've waited this long. What's another 6 months or a year to be like, well, let's make sure what's on the ballot is what we want. Because that's the thing that in Colorado was they got it, in the Constitution, and they made sure, like, okay, it covers the basics of everything we want. Because everyone knows it's harder to get it's easier to get something put in than it is to get things amended. Like amendments
from the state's constitution,
things taken out, or things like adjusted. So that's where it's important to be like, growers' rights. Plain and simple, you have the ability to have this many plants or this much bud on your property grown of your own accord, because that's one thing that like people need to keep is, because otherwise we're going to lose that and people aren't even going to realize that they gave it away.
Exactly. I agree 100%, man. It's just ultimately it's about education. People have to realize like, yeah, it's a fun, awesome plant, but educate yourselves on the potential it has. Like how we were talking about just the CBG in general. Like nobody knows about that. And it's like, yo, you could have an entire backyard full of that where you're just kind of harvesting it generally on a weekly basis, and juicing occasionally. And you fine, man.
Juicing those small little vegetable plants, all day long.
Absolutely. And that's the best thing possible for your endocannabinoid system. It's literally a phytocannabinoid version of a stem cell for your endocannabinoid system. And it's like CBG is just untalked about. CBC is untalked about. Delta 8 just got proven to be more beneficial than Delta 9 THC. I don't know if you all were up on that. But yeah, dude, it's like, man, people aren't paying attention to it. It's like they want to focus on one proponent of cannabis. And that's on both sides, both negative and positive sides. Like the pro cannabis folks just want to talk about THC or CBD. And then the negative folks are just, oh, it just gets you high. There's no such thing as medical.
Yeah, the thing too, though, we gotta remember that it is frustrating because THC and CBD are like the bells of the ball right now. Like they're the two big.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look out! When they come in, everything else goes. But you ride them, in to get to where you want, and then you drop all that other stuff because, like you said,
that's true.
they're kind of learning on it too. So there's not a whole lot, of research because unfortunately the United States is so backward. Well, let's not say backward. They're just not the smartest when it comes to things like that because they have other interests pushing, pushing how they're going to.
Or profit rules.
Yeah. But there is enough research. There's enough research at the moment to at least introduce these proponents to people and let them think on it. But they just don't even want to think on it most of the time because folks are like, nah.
Yeah, and like we said before with the education thing, you have to make sure too that while we're let's make sure we're telling them about all that stuff. Let's make sure we're educating people on actual products. Like, the CBD stuff that you see in gas stations and things, that's probably not a whole lot of CBD, where we tell people, like, look at the ingredients or look at, like, how much CBD is in that little 50 milliliter container, like a half of a milliliter, that's not a whole lot of CBD, so these are things, too, that we have to educate. Like, just because it says CBD doesn't mean it's going to be as beneficial as what you're hoping for. Or, like, the differences between isolates, and full spectrum distillates, things like that. Like, letting people know the benefits of, like, well, CBD is good, but CBD with other cannabinoids is real good. Hemp is great, but hemp only matures, hemp's cannabinoids only mature so far because they're only allotted to mature so far.
Right.
That you don't end up with the psychoactive properties, things like that. So that's why when you're like, well, if you're looking at hemp and it's working okay, if you have the ability to use THC products, even if it just has a tiny little bit, and you're able to get like some full spectrum or more cannabinoids in there, you're going to see better benefit, and things like that. Like just letting people know the differences between, here, just little differences that might not seem like a big deal to everyone, but to someone they may make a huge difference,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, it's on what people are using it for. If you're looking to have the, like the psychoactive abilities, like, if you're okay with that, or if you're like, I don't want that, obviously that's going to change things up too. Yeah, neither one is wrong. Like, no one's wrong when it comes to that. As long as you're getting help, who cares?
Yeah.
Folks, we got Myles and Mark espousing knowledge about cannabis. Thanks for joining us. This is Stir the Pot. I'm with my favorite smoking buddy, Mr. Aaron Pierce. And we're brought to you by Stables Media. I want to just give a shout out to the wonderful folks at Stables, my producer, Tony Russo, my homeboy, Vinny G. And I'll give a bunch of shout outs later on. You guys always feel free to shout out. People really like that. Everyone's a part of this show. This show is about community. We always want to spread the love and the laughter. Let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about some creativity. Now, Mark is a photographer and Myles is a musician. So if either one of you want to start and just talk about how cannabis inspires your work.
Go ahead, Myles.
All right, for sure. So, well, I mean, for me personally, cannabis never, I mean, I wouldn't say it doesn't inspire my work. I'd just say it helps the creative juices flow a little bit more. I find inspiration through anything. I feel like as an artist, that's something that we all have to do. You definitely do. I've seen you do it. know Mark does it as well. But it's just, you find inspiration in everything. I feel like sometimes definitely cannabis can help to let you see things in a different light. So that way inspiration comes a little easier. But yeah, no, I wouldn't say that cannabis necessarily itself inspires my music, unless, of course, I'm so inebriated that while I'm writing, that's mainly the thing that I feel like focusing on. And in that situation, it's typically just like, hey, I feel like going into the studio recording something that sounds like I want to party to,
Yeah.
And that's the mindset you want to be in for that. But yeah, no, typically if I'm in a very creative mindset. I just hit maybe I'll hit the bong a couple times. Maybe I'll go roast something outside. Maybe a dab or two, but really it's just like a glass of wine and just like silence with a lot of focus. You know, that's
Sure.
really my thing. I like to meditate, and cannabis kind of helps me do that. So.
And just before we go to Mark really quickly, Myles, you are an artist, and I want to let people know where to hear your music. Myles has a fantastic new album called Urban Drinks, and I've been really enjoying it myself. And so, Myles, just let people know of the platforms that you're on. Is it Myles Da Master? Is that how they can find you?
Yeah, you can search Myles Da Master on really any of your favorite streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Google Play, Pandora, really anything that you feel like looking it up on, you can look it up on. It's just instead of THE, it's THA, Myles Da Master. I know it's just me. And so, feel free to check me out. I would appreciate a follow on there. If you dig the music, you dig it. I hope it brings many good vibes and blessings to you. If not, then that's all good too. Just stay up, stay right, and keep on bringing light to the world. You know, that's all I can say.
You're doing great work. And then Mark, I've known you for several years, and you've shot my band photography like a handful of great shots a handful of times. And so just talk about, again, not necessarily that, but how maybe photography not inspires but could inform your work, or just any type of thing, how
I
it
got you.
creeps in.
So I initially got into photography after I got out of the service. When I was going to school for a little while, and I actually got into the industry because I was looking at taking photos of cannabis. I was interested in trying to get a badge and becoming like kind of a photographer maybe in the springs. And this was, in 2012. So, back when, everyone's taking pictures with like their iPhones and stuff, I was like, well, man, maybe I could really go and take pictures for people. Like with the badge, I can go into a grow, they'll just tell me what I need to bring as far as like gear and stuff like that, like to stay clean or whatever, take some shots for them, macro shots of the buds, at different stages, just showing things like that. But, it's kind of, when you're dealing with a lot of different stuff, and back in 2012 too, the industry was still semi-new, like the medical side was still semi-new. So, a lot of companies they're not really going to pay you to do something like that for them when they're like, well, I can just take pictures. Why would I pay you? So then, that's how I ended up in the industry. But I was actually looking to get in and start like photography of my own. So I would say that, with doing that, cannabis definitely helped to kind of shape what I was looking to do at the time. But then, as I kind of was involved and got to work, with the people I was working with at the time, I just realized that there was like more in it for me. And I had always been a person who kind of had bounced around, with work or with staying, interested in things. And cannabis was one of the first things where I was like, oh man, this is keeping my interest, because there's it's just a constant evolution of you can learn as much as you want to know when it comes to cannabis, because it's impossible to know everything. So it's really as far as you want to go is as far as you can gain just constant knowledge, or, hey, I just want to know the basics, boom, and you're good to go. So in the beginning, I was just like, well, I want to do some photography and things like that. And then, like I said, it turned into oh, well, maybe I could help around the grow. I started doing stuff like that. And then I was photographing and doing the grow stuff. And the company I was working for, I was doing their photography for them, and different events that we would go to, because that was when you were starting to see the smoke shops pop up around town. And the company I worked for at the time was they sponsored one of the local ones in town. So we went for their grand opening, their year anniversary, all that kind of stuff. So, you're trying to do it. And then we were trying to build a website. So it was just a lot of taking photos of bud, trying to make them look as clean as possible to get on a website so that you could, get as much detail, and things like that. So
yeah,
it was interesting to to get to do that because I'd never really seen full-grown weed, like weed plants, except for in like high times and stuff like that, you know. And then the first time you go in with the camera, you're like, damn, this is pretty crazy. And you're like, see all the trichomes. And you're like, dang. And then you touch it and you're like, oh, that's what the stickiness is. Like, that's what, before that I had no idea because I'd seen it growing. I'd never seen any of that. I'd always just seen dry bud. And like I said, some of the worst, like, brick weed that you get, you know, from where I'm from, that's like what they would get. So you didn't have like really good, like, yo, check this out. Only occasionally would I see stuff like that. Like when I started to get a little older and I would hang out with people like at work who like their parents maybe had some money and shit. So they knew people that you could get better stuff from. And so, but I literally, it was just like, I just knew weed was green. Other than that, I never expected to see hairs, any of that stuff. Because it was just like, I just don't want a bunch of seeds. That's it.
Right. Not too picky at that point, right? Now we're all pot snobs.
Hey,
I mean, I would
hell yeah. You got to be.
No good flower. You know,
yeah, we just know good flower.
I don't think that's a knock when I say snob. That's, to me, that means.
Because, I mean, we'll smoke stuff if it's not great. We'll just tell you it's not great.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Just pass it by. Or I'll smoke and be like, okay, we're not doing that again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. No
done
thanks.
that before.
Everybody gets one.
No.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a couple of seasoned veterans in Mark and Aaron in the industry, and I guess myself as well. But Myles, you took a plunge, and just what'd you like about it? Yeah, what'd you dig about working about bud tending?
About bud tending, I love bud tending in general. I liked the information that was constantly coming through because like Mark said, there's just always new information, especially on new strains and new cannabinoids that they've found and different terpenes and what they can do to each other, how they interact. I loved all that. I liked interacting with some of the customers as well. Some of them were really, you know how it is in any industry. But at the same time, really the best part about it was working with cool ass people. Really, that was the coolest thing about working in the cannabis industry for sure. It was just an enjoyable time. Like you working 12-hour shifts and you're not hating it the whole time when you working with cool people, you know.
Right. That makes sense. Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah.
Mark, so someone is stealing the show on the screen there. You want to introduce Buttkiss to everybody?
Oh, man. I was trying to keep him a little bit off.
Oh, man, we want him on. Are you kidding me? We got dog lovers.
You guys all know Buttkiss. This is Buttkiss, my bulldog. He just turned 12 at the end of last month.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Yeah, so he's just hanging out. We just got a new chair from a friend who's moving. So he, of course, had to get up here and, like, lay all over it and do his thing. You know, let me, even though it's mine, it's his. So
Mark, you mentioned he's 12. And let's talk a little bit about cannabis being a part of his life, the CBD end. I think it's really helped him.
So I have been giving Buttkiss CBD on and off. I would say, like, I was giving it to him on and off for probably like a few years, like 2 years. And this was a few years back. And then I was trying some different things. I was trying like that THCA. Because, THCA has different benefits and things like that for pets, the way that it affects them, things like that, as opposed to THC or CBD. But then we started carrying that brand Iovia, that came out, IOVA. You guys can feel free to look them up on Instagram or whatever. If they watch this or someone from that watches this, yo, I love your product. I'm not trying to sell anything to anybody.
Yeah, no, they're good.
Product.
Oh, great stuff, Mark. Thank you for that.
Like an MCT
oil. Absolutely.
It's like the clear part of the coconut oil. Yeah. See, I was going to go and grab a bottle, too. I keep them in the fridge for the dog. they use a different part of the coconut oil, so it's the clear part. You know, it has more of an absorption rate. It's one of the few, I tell people all the time, it's one of the few droppers that I've ever used where when you put it under your tongue, it doesn't leave your mouth feeling oily, and it actually all absorbs in that soft tissue under your tongue.
Yeah, not hashed either.
Only one.
Thanks.
It's one of the only, and like I said, it doesn't leave like a gross taste or a gross like feeling in your mouth.
Absolutely.
So that's the back on most tinctures is they just leave like this film, you know.
Yeah.
So they make a great product. The one that I use personally for butt kiss is the 19-to-1.
Okay.
As far as we carry, where I work, they only make a THC, a 1-to-1, which is a THC and CBD, and then 19-to-1, which is the THC and CBD. Yeah, I give my dog 3/4 of a dropper. Like the droppers have markers on them. So he gets 3/4 of a dropper in the morning and in the evening. It's definitely improved him. I can tell when he doesn't get it, like when we run out for a little bit, you know, a few days, you can definitely tell like that he starts to get a little more sore. He's a little, you know, his muscles hurt. There's a little more achiness. But with the droppers, and it's one of the few that he like actually looks forward to. So with the other ones, you got to kind of like, come on, let's do it. You know, like with this one, he actually is like, yo, bring it on. I'm ready for it. So yeah, they make a great product. I definitely recommend them. Or if you have access to CBD, that's like a good, you know, hemp-based full spectrum oil, things like that. I would definitely recommend something like that. Pets don't do THC well.
Right.
So that's why I give such a high version, like the 19-to-1. That's why I like that so much, is because he doesn't get too, you know, stoned off of it. That's the one thing that I learned when I was doing like the 1-to-1 is because pets take THC so much heavier, it would make him real lethargic. So he would, you know, like he wouldn't be able to get up, or he would like just, you could tell he was like real groggy. He looked like he was on like some kind of pill or something like that. So that's why I just started to go with that 19-to-1. Even the 1-to-1 at like real low amounts, he just didn't do as well. But again, not every dog is the same. So, you know, it's just like people. Everything affects everyone differently. So based on your pet, you know, if your pet has different allergies, things like that, things might affect them differently. So definitely, you know, look into anything that they might have that affects them. But I would definitely recommend it. I mean, like I said, you guys have seen Buckus. You know, I'm not going to say he looks like he's 2, but he looks probably like he's 8 or so, you know, 7 or 8, I would give him. So.
Yeah, that's great stuff, Mark. Thanks for, I know I had some questions from previous shows from folks that were looking for some guidance on that. So that's great stuff, you guys. And always we want to endorse products that we believe in. On an earlier episode, Aaron did a strain review of some Veritas, which is a shirt that I've got on today, the Cherry Diesel. They do I just tried their slur. I just tried the Slurricane.
Yo, me too, that first cut.
Aaron,
Nice,
what'd you guys think?
Crazy, man.
Aaron,
Yo, I loved it.
Aaron, what'd you
What's
think?
that?
Did you try
I
the
love it
Slurricane?
as well. Yeah, the fruity kickback on it and everything, and the trichomes is crazy on that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Frosty.
Apparently, that's not a very good yielder. I think that's why a lot of folks don't grow that.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
and Veritas, we send out mass love to them. We love what they're doing.
Anyone who's doing small batch stuff in like real clean,
Thanks.
I'm all about it, man. Same as if you're in Colorado Springs and you have an opportunity, go visit Goodweed. Goodweed off of Las Vegas. No lie, those dudes represent. The price
I gotta go hit them back
the
in.
way they do things. Those dudes represent, man. That's some of the smelliest and tastiest stuff I've ever had. Like, I apologize, I'm kind of salty because I didn't want to shout them out because I like keeping them on the low. Because I feel like they're kind of one of the tender places. Like people who work it out.
Good no-till organic flour. Yeah, they're good. Absolutely.
We're all about spreading the love, right, Aaron?
Absolutely. We got to spread the love, baby.
Yeah, because that's the thing is this whole industry is connected. We all know each other, growers, people that work in the edibles. In fact, in a couple weeks, you guys know Joey Vegas. We're having the folks from Stratus on. So we're super hyped about that.
Nice.
what's True North Collective in Michigan.
Okay.
With Gino and
Yeah,
John.
I already reached out. Yeah, I'm just waiting for. Yeah, I've reached.
No, I'm shouting them out right now.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're shouting you guys out. Gino's doing his thing. That dude's been making.
They are fired.
Can't wait to have them on the show. Yeah, I reached out to them. Definitely.
But Stratos is dope too, man. That I've used them quite a bit. I got them chilling right there next to Iovia. So shout out them. I got the Stratos pills sitting right next to the Iovia, right next to my CBN pills. You know how it goes, man.
Nice. All right. So you guys, just so you know, didn't want to cut anyone off. We're about halfway through today. You're watching Stir the Pot, and I got some wonderful guests in the house. First of all, my smoking buddy Aaron is always with me. My sidekick. Aaron and I have been friends for, about 10 years now. Forever. And then my wonderful guest tonight, Myles Da Master and Sparky Mark.
Yeah.
The knowledge, spreading the love. It's the best place in the universe to talk cannabis is right here on Stir the Pot, baby. Yes, sir. Every Saturday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 o'clock on the Eastern Board, and that's 6 o'clock for you West Coasters. I'm trying out a new light, if you guys noticed. So in this point, looks like I'm kind of working out, and then I get back in there. So I learned a few things about lighting, so it's working out pretty good. But yeah, so guys, we're about halfway through the show. I want to thank you both for joining us. This is only our fourth episode. So it's great to have you guys on. Next week, we're having Jessica Pichardo. And Jess is a manager of a rec shop up in Washington. And you all know her. And she also is running a consulting business that we're super excited to hear about called Canaloo's.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know more. And that's the thing. Like you mentioned, Gino and Ree, we have friends all over the country that either started in Colorado or moved here, got some experience, and moved elsewhere. Our friends Daniel and Chelsea that were on the first show, I think we mentioned Daniel got a new job running a grow in, I believe, I forget which state it is, Arkansas.
Wow, that's cool.
And Myles, it's just we know so many people that are doing fantastic things with cannabis, not just in the workplace, but on their own. And Mark, let's talk a little bit about being. Oh wait, you have a thought? I know you.
Real quick.
Yes.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
These guys here, if you're in Lincolnton, I don't know if people can read that, if that's big enough, if it's focused or not. So if you're in Lincolnton, North Carolina, my friend Rachel owns a place called CBD East Main. Feel free to contact them as well. They do some really good products, things like that as well. So I'm definitely giving her a shout out. She does have a Facebook page, which I believe is just CBD East Main. She does have an Instagram for the store. So definitely check them out. They do a lot of good stuff. And like I said, it's all hemp derived. So I believe they can ship anywhere. So if you're looking for products, things like that, they do have a website. Let's see, cbdeastmain.com.
Okay. And Mark, just so you know, we'll let everyone know. We'll put that information on the Stir the Page Facebook page a little bit later. Yeah, so that way they can link up and everything. But thanks, you guys, for those shout outs. That's really important. That's what the show's all about. Again, the show is about my guests and you guys spreading your knowledge, spreading your positivity, and also giving shout outs to people in the industry that you really value. That's really important. That you guys know it's we can do as much advertising as we all want, but the word of mouth is the lifeblood and will always be. Because I'm going to go over to Miles's house in a few months with some hype, and we're going to smoke together, and he's going to go, "Where'd you get that?" And I'm going to say, "At this new spot," and then it brings out a whole new set of conversations that you can have about cannabis and creates excitement. There hasn't been this much excitement about anything that I've seen in so long, and that's why it's great to be a part of it. I mean, look at Aaron. I mean, look at that grin. It's a mile wide, baby. Aaron,
awesome.
It's a lifestyle, isn't it, Aaron?
It is. It is a genuine lifestyle. Honestly, to be honest, I'll be real with you. Some people don't need to smoke it too. I know it's legal and everything of that nature, but some people just do not need to smoke it.
Facts.
But
That's
yeah,
facts.
I'm gonna say that as well. But yes, it
That
is
is
my
facts.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. That is definitely something we can speak to.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, weed is not going to
Mhm.
change, certain things about you. So there are certain things, just like with any drug or anything like that, you need to make sure that you are in a good place because it's not going to take you out of a bad place, and it's not
No.
it's not a miracle
Yeah.
thing. Like there's still work that you have to do to yourself. There's still work that you have to do, with your attitude or with other things. Believe us, like we
Yeah.
deal with that every day.
Yeah.
Most of us, we work in customer service while dealing with social anxiety and other things like that.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean,
Absolutely.
and get to take a break. Like, I don't get to 6 hours, 7 hours into a shift, let me just go out and medicate. Like, I can't do that because I'll lose my job.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
that's what people need to remember is like, well, hey, I know I've had a long day and I haven't had to medicate. I haven't been able to medicate. When I go in, these guys also haven't been able to medicate. So let's just, have a good, just a good one-on-one. We don't have to be friends. We don't have to be any of that. Let's just have our interaction, get you your stuff, and get you on your way, man, so that you can go enjoy yourself. And then in a few hours, I can hopefully go and enjoy myself.
Yeah.
So Mark,
Yes, sir.
Mark, as always, you touched on something that kind of was thought-provoking for me, and that is you're talking about cannabis use, and so I know we all combine it with other things. It could be combining it with playing video games, but talk about for both Myles, Mark, and Aaron. You guys talk about for myself. I know I meditate, I play drums. I use music as therapy as well. But what are some of the other things that you guys use cannabis for in conjunction with other things that you might do, but like yoga, exercise, things like that?
I be on my martial art game, man.
Oh, wow.
I've been chilling, bro.
Myles the Samurai
Yo,
Master.
no lies, man. Cannabis helps out with meditation heavy. So I've been trying to get up on my Tai Chi, my Qigong. I've been working on the shit to reel with the katana, man. And it's if you can use cannabis with a sound mind, then honestly, I'm a firm believer in speaking intentions over your high before you actually use it. Hey, he got that first cut Veritas, and before I smoke, I typically I'll state in my mind very clearly what I'm about to be meditating or thinking on, and then it definitely helps me out. You line your energies, and then working out becomes much more easy. Flowing with just natural life, working in general becomes more easy. Just relaxing becomes more easy. So other than just kind of chilling out, I'll be working, jogging, smoking, everything,
Yes, sir. And Mark, what about you? I know I remember Mark would come in and tell me, "Oh man, yeah, I only rode 40 miles yesterday on my bike." Like, what?
Yeah, I do enjoy getting out on my bike. This year I didn't do it a whole lot. I won't lie. With this whole thing this year, it's just been kind of more of a being at the house. But I definitely, when next year we'll be getting on miles down. But it's just enjoying myself with spending time with my dog. With him getting older, that's really good. And then, like you said before, just some light photography stuff that I've been doing, just kind of to enjoy myself. I've been debating on getting back into maybe trying to do some photography work on the side. But right now, it's really just enjoying myself, trying to lose myself in that for a little while on my free time. Because, it's just, I enjoy, reading, comics, different stuff like that.
Yeah.
So my photography is kind of my way of, when I don't feel like sitting down and reading a comic, I can just kind of, do stuff that I like doing.
Mark,
I'm a guy who plays with toys.
I was just going to say, you should tell the folks, because Mark does these really cool pictures on Instagram. He sets up these scenes with his toys. It's badass. And I know that you admire people that do that, but I admire you because I don't know, I don't have a spectrum of folks that do that. So that's really cool, man. You should tell people how to follow you.
I got you. Yeah, so I do have an Instagram page. If anyone feels like checking it out, it's kind of random stuff. There's weed on there sometimes. There's figures on
Sure.
there. There's my dogs on there. There's whatever I feel like doing on there.
Yeah.
That is to be MFing Photog 79. So MFING PHOTOG 79.
Awesome.
You'll know it's me because there'll be a picture of an astronaut and a big old thing of marijuana.
Okay.
That was an old picture I took on a harvest day. But yeah, I just kind of enjoy doing that. But if you see stuff that you like that I do, definitely check out some of the guys that I follow. There's some really good guys that are on like YouTube who do reviews, things like that.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time just getting stoned, posing stuff and watching videos that guys are doing or things like that. So definitely check those guys out because all that stuff helps them too, like with monetization, things like that. So.
Yeah. And just so folks know too, we'll try and post all this information right after the show. Your friend's CBD, the website or the Facebook page for that, the link, also the name of it, the website. We'll have Miles's links on there. Mark will have your link for Instagram, and then Aaron's 35 links for all the stuff that he does.
Yes, sir.
Stand-up comedian over here, baby. This guy's ready to go. That's right. Hey, you guys, we're gonna do that one night. We'll do a stir the pot roast. So I definitely want, and you're gonna roast me. So I want, and that's super easy.
You sure you want that?
Yeah.
No,
I want that.
You don't want to. Sir, I'll break your back.
I know.
I'll break your back, boy.
No, I'm just playing.
I know.
Nah,
I know.
We keep it light.
It's all good. It's all good.
Don't hurt him.
We'll keep it light.
Mark's over there with some Veritas product. It looks like he's.
Sorry.
Yeah, buddy.
Absolutely.
Right? Hurricane.
Ready here in a little bit.
Doing numbers.
That's awesome. Do you guys want to give out shout outs to any of your homies I have a whole list tonight. I feel
I give a shout out to everybody who's watching. Everybody who's watching. Shout out to you. I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope you have a good ass night. I hope tomorrow is a great day. I hope your next week is doper than this week. I hope you just chilling. So shout out to you. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. I just want to give a shout out to my main man, Motivated Streetwear out there. You know what I'm saying? He's in the vintage reselling community. So am I as well. Stoked_vintage CO is mine. So check me out as well if you're looking for any of that vintage gear, any of that punk rock gear, any of that. Holla at me. I got you.
Yeah. Aaron, thanks for that, man. I'm glad. Aaron's, he's got a little side business with that. They're killing it over there. If you need like AC/DC and old punk concert shirts and stuff, they're destroying it. What was that, Marky?
Oh, no. I was just saying nice, supporting Aaron because
man.
Supporting our people when they're doing their thing.
Absolutely, We all got our hand in many pots, so to speak. And then we stir that big pot.
Hey, man.
Stirring that pot, baby. Stirring that pot.
That's what we do. That's what we do. So, guys, we've got about 15 minutes left. Great show. You guys, it's so easy. Again, I told my guests before the show, everyone, that I didn't really prepare too much. This is the first show. I didn't really feel like I had to make a list of questions, and I'm glad I didn't because we're just letting it free flow and having a great time. But I do want to ask both of you something, and I think I asked Aaron this last week, but he can answer again because he'll have an even more eloquent answer. But guys, what do you think the future, and it could be any aspect, doesn't have to be the industry part, but what do you think the future of it looks like?
Edibles. I think the future of cannabis is going to come down to people learning how to properly cook with different cannabinoids at different strengths, and then you'll be able to sit there and make just amazing full course meals, just medicated specifically to you and your family, and it's like, I don't know, honestly, I've seen so many people who on a daily basis are so like for cannabis, but they're against smoking, dabbing, or anything like that. It's like edibles just seem like the next step logically in the evolution of cannabis to me. But you know, there's so many different pathways. It could go however, you know.
Okay. What about you, Marky? I see the wheels turning.
I would say that I'm there with Myles as far as like edibles being the next. I think that'll be a huge wave once we figure out, you know, a little more with extended shelf life, figuring out, you know, maybe how to control it a little bit more, like timing wise for people, so that it's a little more like, you know, it's only a 2 to maybe 4 hour window, as opposed to like you might be bombed out for like 6 to 8 hours. You know, different things like that.
Yes.
So I think that, but again, like we talked about before, education, I think, needs to be something that, you know, people in the industry, or at least people as cannabis is becoming more legalized or more normalized, education, because our arguments are going to be, well, what about children? As long as we're educating them, they should be okay. As long as we're educating ourselves, we should be okay, like the kids should be okay. Because that's not just education on like THC or cannabinoids or marijuana and edibles. That's education on like, well, how to keep your cannabis away from your children, how to educate them to, you know, let them know it's your medicine. It's something you can use for fun, but you use it medicinally. They shouldn't use it yet. You know, like educating kids on it's okay to wait until you're a little bit older to smoke because you're still developing, like your brain and stuff is still developing. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely people who need cannabis at younger ages who deal with anxiety, different things like that. You know, ADHD, it can definitely help you focus. I'm sure we all used it for that. You know, different things like that are definitely good, but with them using it in more controlled ways, hence the edibles, tinctures, things like that, to where like you can control, like I can give my kid tinctures and he's able to go to school and function just like a normal kid, like as opposed to, oh, you know, we give him this tincture and he's, you know, everyone thinks he's stoned, or, oh, this or that or the other. Like, we need to get that out of, like, just get this whole, like, you know, what was reefer madness. We just need to get that whole thing out of there.
Get the stigma out of there,
Absolutely.
That whole thing just needs to be like, here's the reality, regardless of legalization and this and that. Legalization isn't going to change the science of what they've discovered over in Israel, you know, and Dr. Mishula, those kind of people figuring out. So we should still be following all of that and using that as evidence while they're, oh, well, it's still illegal. Well, that doesn't change the fact that this is the science. This is how it goes. You know, saying, oh, now it's legal isn't going to be like, oh, well, everything we figured out before isn't right anymore, so we got to do it all over again. Like, no, you can still run the race and just be like, oh, now you're eligible. Hey, what do you know? We're already at the finish line. Boom. So, you know, like, you still have to do those kind of things. And I think, you know, that's where, just like we said, the education, letting people know, you know, here's the proper ways. Because while edibles are going to be the next wave, edibles, we have to remember, are the easiest thing to totally screw up. Like, as far as like, oh, here's
absolutely
good time on them, and you're never going to want to do them again.
They gotta educate themselves when they make them.
That's why learning how to control those cannabinoids is going to be huge. And like you said, education is going to be the main proponent of all of that.
Well, and too, getting rid of the stigma of people thinking, oh, I need to use a lot. Like, you know, because people do come in and go, well, it's my first time, I want to buy like an ounce. And you're like, bro, you cannabis. Like,
I need to be James Franco and Pineapple Express immediately.
Yeah, I know you've and you've done all that, but homie, like, you might not need it like that. You know, everyone thinks, oh, I got to go all crazy. And you're like, well, you might just be a puff, I'm good. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I feel like people are ashamed to be like, oh, I only eat a little, or, oh, I can only hit a joint 2 times. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, like,
that's cool.
Enjoy doing that. You know, like, I wish I could do
Hell
that.
Yeah.
Save so much damn money if that was the case. If I could just do that,
need to get over the stigma of that. I'm a lightweight. Like, there's nothing wrong with being a lightweight, man. When it comes to as long as you're enjoying it, who cares?
Right.
There's no, because when you're stoned, I don't care how much you smoke.
No, exactly.
For real.
As long as I'm high, I don't care how much you smoke to get high.
No,
So
that's some high school shit.
Marky, before we go, one thing I wanted to touch on is you being a vet. There's a lot of folks, because of the Schedule 1, what'd you say?
No, I said I've forgotten. Like that usually doesn't. When
I know,
when I'm talking,
but
He said,
really,
I forgot I was a vet.
I know, and I don't identify you like that's not the first thing I think of either when I think of you.
I wear my hair up.
Yeah,
But I look
military police Fruehling. No.
look
But Mark, seriously, man, what's important is there's a lot of, as you know, because you have friends around the country, there's a lot of folks because of the Schedule I prohibition that vets aren't able to access a lot of these products, right?
Yeah. So yeah, what it comes down to is obviously the VA is very unclear because with it being different in different states and legal and things like that. While the VA is federally run, the VA cannot. They don't really like prescribe you cannabis. Their doctors, if they are educated at all on it, will usually just be like, I can recommend that maybe you go talk to a doctor about getting a cannabis card.
Sure.
But that's as far as they'll go right now. I know that they are looking into different things, but if we know anything about the government, we know that the wheels turn a lot slower for them. That's where I think veterans who are interested in using cannabis, it is important for them to look at how it's going to affect their benefits because their benefits are their responsibility. I'm willing to help veterans who are trying to, who come into the store and things like that, or vets who contact me. I'm definitely willing to talk with them about THC, how it'll hopefully help them. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not anyone who knows anything about that stuff. I just know the stuff that I've read from books.
Yeah.
But I'm not obviously trained in that. I didn't go to school for that. But I can tell you about the different experiences I've had and the different veterans that I've talked to and how I've seen them be affected through cannabis. I know a lot of vets are kind of worried of how it's going to make them feel because they don't want to feel out of control because a lot of times that's how the pills, like when I was on my prescriptions, they just make me feel real heavy and kind of like in the back seat of my own self. So I'm not a big fan of that, and I know a lot of guys who aren't a big fan of that. It's definitely, if you're a veteran who's thinking of using cannabis, remember there's a lot of different strains, there's a lot of different things. So don't just think, hey, I need to do this thing that my friend is using, because that might not be the best thing for you.
Right.
Depending on what you're using it for, as far as like PTSD, social anxiety, maybe you have anger issues, maybe you have different things like that. It can compound different things, just like any prescription. You just have to find the right strain. And that's where it's really just important to kind of talk to people about and be honest with, this is how I want to feel, or this is how I want it to make me feel. You don't have, and again, this is where we talked about before, getting rid of that stigma of you need to smoke the strongest thing, or you need to smoke the most of things. You don't always have to do that. You might be looking for something that's just, hey, I get down and I can't really get myself out of that, just kind of a funk. You might just need something, that's, hey man, I just need something that's going to taste good, that's going to make me happy, and just kind of put a smile on my face. I don't need to be bouncing around and doing cartwheels, but I don't want to be thinking of, on the two sides of that line. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm in the gray side as opposed to the lighter side. So you want to be, it's all dependent on everyone, man. People use different things. You might not have pain, like I said, but you might be like, I can't deal with the public. Well, maybe you just want something that it's going to take the edge off to where people don't make me pissed off with the tone of their voice or with their face. If a veteran is listening to this, you understand what I'm saying when I say with your face, because some people walk up and you're like, God dang it. There's, it's like, what is it in Step Brothers, where he's like, there's just something about your face that makes me want to Not necessarily like that, but you're like, there's just something about your face that annoys the crap out of me. Or, the way you just came up and talk to me. So it is one of those, sometimes you just need something that's like, hey man, I'm okay. That happy, like I said, it's just going to make me happy, and just hey, no matter what you do right now, I don't even care, man. Let's just get this over with, get you on your way. That's going to make me happy, getting you on your way. So it is every veteran's different. Everyone needs to use stuff differently. And some veterans don't want the THC stuff. So there's nothing wrong with just trying some CBD or trying very low THC with that CBD. We're all using it for different stuff. And, we just make sure that you're being honest with yourself, and this isn't just for veterans, it's for anyone who's looking to do CBD stuff. Please CBD, it takes about, they'll say 1 to 2 weeks. I usually tell people 10 to 14 days, because that way you're giving yourself over that 1 week. You have to take it consistently. You have to take it consistently, okay? That is the one thing, because what you're going to do, and I'm sure you guys can speak from your own, like having people who have taken it or telling people how to take it and they just don't do it. What you're going to do is you're going to buy it and you're going to go, okay, this is going to help me out. And you're going to take it hardcore for like 1 or 2 days, and you're going to feel really good. And you're going to be like, man, I think it's working. And you're going to take it that 3rd and 4th day, and you're going to be like, I feel like this isn't doing as much as I was hoping it was doing. I'm not kind of getting that same whatever, you know. And then you're going to basically, after about the 5th or 6th day, you're going to be like, I'm good. Maybe this isn't working as well. It's just not, I'm just going to forget about it. And it'll sit in my fridge, or it'll sit in that counter. And you're going to forget about it. You can't do that. You have to take it for about 10 to 14 days. At 14 days is when you're going to finally start to notice, like, hey, you know, when I get up and that thing I used to take those drops for, that it was going to make, you know, go from an 8 to a 6. Well, now when I get up, that thing is only at maybe a 7 as opposed to being at an 8. Well, that's your improvement. Remember, small steps are still steps towards improvement. As long as we're not moving backwards, you are moving forward. That is one of the hardest things to get over, is like, you want those immediate, like when I smoke a joint, I feel that shit immediately. When I do this, I feel it, you know, like when you're using CBD, it's not going to be the same, because you got to remember, this is like, we're trying to re-lubricate. We're trying to we're trying to like help and fix things that maybe have been messed up for a long time, that you haven't been, you know, we're not going to say you haven't been taken care of, but if you wake up in the morning and you stretch and you rotate things, then you're doing more than most people do, because there's this thing in your body called synovial fluid that's in like your joints and stuff like that actually helps your joints to become lubricated. If you don't wake up and like actually rotate stuff and do things, that synovial fluid doesn't get moving, which in turn makes your joints rough throughout the day, things like that. CBD is doing that same kind of thing over time. Just think of it like you're lubricating. But each day when you're taking it, you're recharging that THC that's in you, because as you're using it to lubricate, that level's going down. So when in the evening, I'm taking my dropper, level's back up. While I'm sleeping, it's re-lubricating. When I wake up in the morning, that level's down. Let's take that dropper again. So always remember that. It's a consistent thing. And like we talk about with using oh man, the word just slipped my mind. How we used to talk about, like, you got to get yourself on a CBD regimen.
Yep.
Not just using products, using multiple products. Because number one, it gets boring using the same thing over and over again. I don't want to wake up in the morning and eat a piece of candy. I want to wake up in the morning and maybe have some coffee. Let's use my tincture. In the afternoon, after lunch, maybe I'll take my CBD, gummy or something like that. And then in the evening, maybe I'll use my salve, stuff like that. Like, use a regimen so that way, number one, you're not burning yourself out on it. And number two, your body isn't getting as used to it as fast. So, and it's cheaper too, because you're buying 2 or 3 products. You're using them a little longer because you're not just using the one. So you're only shopping like half as often anyways. So, I'm not trying to sell people or get your money. I'm just trying to tell you the best ways to get your help or get the most out of the products and things that you're using. So just kind of doing those different things. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack everything and talk for like a long time. My bad.
No, that was all relevant information.
Talking about this stuff, I just like blah, blah, blah.
Mark, you're a passionate guy, and that's what Stir the Pot's all about, baby. We want
all
passionate
about that.
folks. That's right. We want passionate folks. So, guys, we do have a couple minutes left. We're probably gonna go over a little bit today, since we're having so much fun. If you guys don't mind me taking a little bit more of your time, because right now I need to know what are a couple of Myles' favorite strains that he smokes on, and his favorite way to medicate, whether it be a chalice, a chop, whatever.
Man, so that's a tough one, man. So I feel like, man, number one strain for me is definitely Granddaddy Purps. Granddaddy Purps or OG Kush. OG Kush has always been a good one for me, but Granddaddy Purps always hangs with me. MK Ultra is right there too. I love some MK Ultra always smacks me.
Old.
That's
an old like G13 cross.
Hey, yo, that shit smacks. But yeah,
cool.
if it ain't that, if I was just going to the dispensary, just shopping regular, and I was just grabbing something, then it'd typically be like a glass apple. You know me and glass apple, that Pineapple Express cross, man, that glass flipper. Yeah, man, that's crazy.
I love it.
But Yeah, if I'm smoking, then it's always at home, always out the glass. Always out the glass at home because it's more constant. So I don't need all that paper and all that junk in my lungs and everything like that. If I'm gonna be smoking constant, then I'll just go through the glass, glass, water, bong with a little bit of warm water, a little lemon juice. You
Ah, the
know
lemon
it.
juice.
Ice on top.
Dude,
Yes,
you put me
indeed.
on that. You put me on
Bro,
that for real.
most flavorful rip you'll ever get, man. It's crazy.
And you put
It's
me on that
crazy.
for real.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's
But
great.
then in the car, it's always blunts, man.
Sounds like my favorite smoking buddy over there. He's like,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. I smoke them blunts, you know what I mean? But I mean, tonight I'm on this Gary Payton for all you people out there that
Hey.
cookies. So
Look at
yeah,
this guy.
definitely got to get you some of that, you know what I mean? Because it does get the glove going, you know.
That's
Gets you
great.
unlocked.
We love
Get
when
that
Aaron,
defense, baby.
there's nothing better when Aaron does a strain review and he just hyped out that Gary Payton. So Aaron,
Yeah, come on the show,
makes that?
Gary.
Who makes it, baby?
Get it!
I want to be
Come
on
on
that
the
one.
show, baby.
on
Yo,
that
for
one.
real.
For
Who
real.
makes that strain, Aaron?
Yo.
That's Veritas Cookies. Yeah,
Get out.
actually.
Hey,
Yeah.
Veritas, we would love you to sponsor our show. We'll give you massive love every week. Hey, no, just
Absolutely.
we're looking for
Absolutely.
sponsors. There's no shame in that. We
Nope.
plan on being around. We plan on getting bigger every single week. And folks like Mark and Myles make it all possible. Folks are checking out Stir the Pot. It's Saturday night. I think we're just about to wrap things up here. I want to thank my producer, Mr. Tony Papa Russo. I want to thank my beautiful guests, and we're going to get into a little bit more, just one more second. But I want to give a couple of shout outs to some folks. First of all, follow us on our Stir the Page Facebook page. Follow and like on there. We'll always have who's coming up next. Everything. We have about 3 or 4 shows booked up. If you want to come on the show, give us a comment, either direct message us on that page, or also we have stirthepotco@gmail.com. Questions, comments, hype, gear, whatever swag you want to send us. Just no marijuana products, please. I got to give some shout outs, folks. So my boy Donnie, great grower. I got my Vinny G in the house. I got my friend Ren. I got Bobby. I got Joyce. Any of you guys want to give some shout outs? Oh, Briargate Wellness, my new people. Love you guys. They're doing some wonderful things, so go check them out. They're in Colorado Springs, a dispensary, and they're just doing kind of a revamp. It's new ownership, and they're putting out some fantastic products. In fact, on Monday, if you're a Colorado resident, jump on the weed maps, find Briargate Wellness, and you'll see some awesome strains. I think they're doing 125 out the door, and some really fabulous strains like, what was the one Peach Crescendo, and a bunch of other ones. So check them out. And
Nice.
What else? Oh, What's Left Records, my boys. I always hang out there on Sundays. I also do a show with my boy Vinny G called Sunday Spin. That'll be on tomorrow at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. And sometimes we hang out at record stores, but we're always talking music. Tomorrow it's our friend Tim Ellison, the wonderful musician from San Diego. And let's see, what else? Iovia, we already gave a shout out. We love you. Jessica Pichardo will be on next week. And she's a wonderful person that's doing some kick-ass things in cannabis. The week after that, the boys from Stratus. I know Aaron's excited about that. We actually have one of the owners coming on, as well as Joe U. Vegas, the ace salesman for the company. And yeah, it's just been a great show. Do you guys have any famous final words for the show? And again, we'll have you on at some point and get caught up with you. But you guys were a fantastic guest, and thanks for all the information, the shout outs, the love. And yeah, any final words, Myles and or Mark?
Thanks for having us on, man. I appreciate getting into the pot, getting able to stir it up, thank you guys, for real. I appreciate you having me on. It's always good talking to you gentlemen. It's been a minute, so much love, guys.
For sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I do have, just in case anyone's looking to educate themselves or, you know, like looking for some information.
Yes.
I have a few books that I'll recommend. One is Cannabinoids in the Brain by Linda A. Parker. You can find it on Kindle. I believe you can find it in stores as well, but if you've ever looked for cannabis books, they can be a pain in the butt to actually find in real life. You might have to order it online or something like that. But she is actually, the thing I really like about her book is she was actually an assistant to Dr. Meshulam when he was doing some research over in Israel. So a lot of the stuff that she talks about is directly like from their research and things that they had gone over. So that's a really cool one. Another one that I happen to find, I don't know this company, but it's called Cannabinoids and Terpenes by the Writer Management Incorporated. That one, these are all on Kindle that I got them through. And then another really cool one, if you're into photography and like microscopic photography, different things like that, like looking at plant tissue and stuff like that. There's a really cool book by Ford McCann, M-C-C-A-N-N, the last name, called Cannabis Under the Microscope. And he actually like has some really, really cool photos, like I said, under like actual microscopes, like 10 times, you know, levels, things like that, like shows how, you know, even after flushing and different things like that, you can still have certain parts of chemicals, or you can still have certain parts of, you know, pesticides and things like that on plants. It's really, really just interesting if you're looking into that kind of stuff. If not, I'm just a nerd and it doesn't matter anyway. So, you know,
we
you like looking at
knowledge.
pictures, owned as shit. Like, it is one of the dopest books to look at high as hell. I will not lie. It is super, super cool.
Awesome. And Tony, get yourself off mute there. Do you want to say anything here?
Hey, I gotta say, all I gotta do. It was a great show, brother. It was a great. I will say this: the content that you have and that you give out to people is unbelievable. Because, you know, Glenn, you and I talked about the cream side of it that I use. I don't smoke; it's not my forte. But I tried the cream, and it actually does work. And you're right; you have to let it. You can't just do it 1 or 2 days. You got to do it 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It beats taking pills, and it beats taking, you know, narcotics, stuff like that. In the sense that the doctors give you, so you know you're not in that loopy phase all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff. And you guys, we're wrapping up our last show for the month. So first of all, I want to thank Aaron for joining me. It's been great. Aaron's been a part of my whole cannabis. We met through cannabis, as I did with Myles and Mark, and most of my friends here in Colorado. But also, he's been on my entire journey through cannabis, and I've been on his. So it's a wonderful gift. He's a great friend. Tony, I want to thank you because this show would not have happened without you. And it's been such it's just great to do a show like this. So I just want to thank you for making it possible, and the folks over at Stables Media, and of course my sidekick, always G.
That's right.
For inspiration and help. So I just end my guests. I mean, the guests are the show, and I hope everyone knows that. It's really about my guests. They're always wonderful, beautiful people. Met Daniel and Chelsea, Marianne and Richie, Patrick, and then now Mark and Myles. So you guys, thank you so much. It's a gift to be on this show. Let's stir the pot again. We'll be back next week with Jessica Pichardo, Jessie James, I call her. But until then, you guys, keep your eye on the flip side. Let's keep rocking and rolling. Use cannabis as the gift that it is. Much love to everybody. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Let's boogie.
Great show, buddy.
No doubt.
Let's boogie. Hold on.
We'll see you next week on Stir the Pot.
Love you guys. See you next week.
Pretty good.